Excellent. Okay, so we'll get started. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first West webinar that we're doing. Today's debate is going to be how to get your voice heard. Before we get started, we'll just go through a little bit of housekeeping. Emily, can you change slides? Okay, so we are going to be asking you to ask questions throughout the webinar, so please feel free to do that. So you will need somebody sitting by the computer to make sure they can type the questions in. We will then respond to you. If it's red, the response will be private back to you, and if it's a green response, then everybody in the call will be able to see it. We'll also be asking some poll questions. You'll see this poll down the side panel of your screen, and when we ask some poll questions, we're just looking for a kind of yes/no response. And finally, there will be handouts available at the end of the webinar, and you'll be able to get them and download the content for yourself to use at a later date. And roughly, we're going to take about 30 minutes to go through this, and the whole point of it is that we'll have a quick webinar and then let you guys get off and finish your safety meetings or your safety committee meetings, whatever else it is you're up to this afternoon. I think that's it. Anything else housekeeping wise? Okay. So, we'll do some introductions. Jake?
Hi, Jake Molloy from RMT, been on the Workforce Engagement Support team and fully support the principle of engagement, as always, one of my favourite hobbies.
Bob Egan, Head of Workforce Engagement at HSC and also co-chair the Workforce Engagement Support team. I see the engagement of the workforce as crucial in every aspect in improving safety offshore, and the work we do with West and Step Change is a key part of that.
And finally, I'm Vicky Lamont. I'm currently HSE manager for one of the operators in Aberdeen, also co-chair of the West group. And just to let you know, we do have Emily in the room with us as well. You can't see her. Emily's one of the project coordinators with us, and she'll be letting us know when your questions come in. So thanks, Emily, for setting it up. Okay, so we'll get started on the topic then. So first bit to note is we're going to be talking about a temporary enclosed habitat scenario, and we're not necessarily going to be talking about the technical aspects of it, but we're going to be talking about the engagement aspects of it. It is a real life scenario, so it is one that Bob's come across in his career in the HSE executive, so we're going to be debating that real life scenario. So next slide. Okay, so hopefully you guys are keeping up with us with the slides. You should see a slide with a picture of what looks like a habitat with some, I think it was set up for grip blasting activity. So the questions are, what could go wrong, what could be the hazards to personnel, and what could be the consequences? Jake, any thoughts?
Well, there's a couple that spring to mind. Obviously, if you're dry blasting in a live area and you're blasting live lines, then there'll be measures required to be taken there. And probably movement around the area with grip going on. You want to ensure that you've got personal protective equipment on at all times, I would suggest, yeah.
Yeah, the ones that I thought about was just the actual atmosphere within the enclosure itself in terms of ventilation and number of air changes for the personnel working in there. The other one I kind of thought about was just if grit gets out of the habitat, obviously that could cause contamination to other equipment and maybe even personnel injuries as a result of eye injuries. Bob, anything else that you can see?
The extent of the area and the potential difficulties that could come in through enclosed areas and the result of hydrocarbon release and ignition of that.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys have been debating the questions along with us. The first poll question we're going to ask you is this type of work currently occurring at your place of work?
– 50% yes, 32% no, 18% sometimes.
Okay. So pretty common activity happening right now. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you very much. Next slide, Emily. And Bob, I'll probably pass to you. You know it a bit closer than myself and Jake, so talk us through a little bit about what actually happened.
So what happened, there was blasting and cleaning going around the slug catcher area. So within that there was fabric maintenance issues around the hydrocarbon lines. So the safety rep who raised these concerns, he done it through the normal company channels, but he wasn't quite happy with the way they were getting addressed. It was being risk assessed all the points through it, but because of his concerns of the enclosure aspect of it, he kept pursuing his concerns, because the module was supposed to be an open module as described in the safety case. So escalating his concerns, he eventually got in touch with HSE.
So just to confirm, so his concerns was about the air changes within the module because we'd enclosed it so much.
Yes, the module did a great job in enclosing it, and the concern was more the movement of the grit and the sand damaging other parts of the equipment. But the design of the module was to have open ventilation.
Okay. So, poll question for you guys listening in. Have you been involved in the risk assessment associated with this type of activity, or been informed of a risk assessment for similar types of activities?
57% yes, 24% no, and 19% have been in the past.
Okay, so pretty positive, lots of people involved or at least informed of the risk assessment of that type of work, so thanks for your response. Any questions come in yet, Emily?
Not yet.
Okay, so please have a think about questions as we're going along, make sure you're typing them in as we go, and we can pause and answer them. Okay, next slide then, Emily. So I suppose this slide is all about, so we've got a scenario on board, the safety rep's got a concern, but for whatever reason that had to be escalated to the HSE. So the questions we're going to be talking about is, what similar situations might you face or have faced? What might you do differently in future situations? And what engagement could actually have happened to prevent that escalation occurring? Any thoughts here?
I would have thought that the safety reps have got powers under the safety committee regulations, and the safety rep could have gone to the UIM with another safety rep and exercised his power under the regulations to raise a concern specifically about this activity. That forces then the UIM to take note of those concerns and inform the health and safety executive that the concern has been raised. I did it once many years ago out in the Brentfield. Did the best please the OIM, but it was enough to trigger the OIM to stop the job and reassess it and actually agree with us, and so the whole project, the whole risk assessment process started again. That might have happened in this case. I don't know if he did do that. He continued to raise his concerns, and his concerns were continually getting addressed by we've risk assessed it, it's okay, the job could carry on, it's been risk assessed, and we're happy with the risk assessment. Now, he didn't give up, and he did more research, and that's, like I mentioned earlier, he went into the safety case and started using the safety case to back up his side of the argument, and ultimately that's why he got in touch with the health and safety executive.
Do you know what I can't understand though? If somebody's got a concern on board, surely, you know, that stop the job premise should just take over. Do you know what I mean? So even an individual walking up to a job site and saying, look guys, I've got a concern, let's just stop and see what we're doing. Did that happen?
Yes, he was taken onto the job and walked around the job, and they tried to alleviate his concerns, but they weren't alleviating his concerns. They were just saying, well, we've looked at this part of the job, we've looked at that. Now, as it escalated, the job that was originally in the original risk assessment, I don't have the exact measurements, but for argument's sake, it was like 5 metres squared. By now, we were getting into 10s, 20s, 30s, 40 metres squared of the habitat. Thus, the risk's a lot bigger. Thus, the dangers when something goes wrong have escalated as well. And as we'll come on to, it started kicking in other hazards.
I've got a question in Emily.
We've got a question. The Elgin Total reps have a concern over blasting live hydrocarbon lines. Was this the case on this task?
There was blasting on live hydrocarbon lines on it. The lines were deemed safe to be blasting on because they'd had the checks on them for wall thickness at first. So yet again, it was something else that was risk assessed. But as we come on to the next bit, we'll also...
Well, let's stop and ask a quick poll question. So I suppose the poll question we wanted to ask you guys was, have you escalated a safety concern because you weren't happy with the first answer that you received?
68% have said yes and 32% have said no.
Okay. Good. So 68% of people have escalated a concern. So good to know that that's happening. And keep up the good work, guys. Any
Another
other
question?
Oh, another question in.
A question in from Leslie. Do events like these undermine the role of the safety rep?
Do events like these undermine the role of the safety? No, I think they actually support the safety rep. If we're able to communicate them out and inform other safety reps so that they're learning from this, then I think it strengthens the position of the safety reps and makes the safety reps' role all the more valid and all the more crucial, because if there hadn't been this guy's intervention here, then we could have had a serious problem. So I don't think it undermines the culture, maybe a wee bit, and perhaps puts the safety reps under a bit of pressure. But if they've got that will and that spirit to chase it up, then it pays dividends.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't think it undermines the safety rep as an individual. I think it actually undermines the whole premise of SI 971 legislation and why it was really set up to exist, and that was all around Piper Alpha and giving employees a voice and being able to raise concerns. What this suggests to me is that there's been a kind of fundamental breakdown in that safety committee, which meant that those concerns weren't dealt with on board.
I've got a couple more questions. Did the OIM or site manager gather all the safety reps to discuss this prior to contacting the HSE?
It was the safety rep that contacted the HSE. And I would say that it's the safety reps carrying out their proper functions and powers as safety reps. And things like this demonstrate that the powers the safety reps have, because when the safety rep, through his tenacity and genuine concerns, wasn't happy with the way things had went within the company, he then contacted the HSE, who then, the HSE will grade things as in red, amber, green, and green being doesn't require action. Amber, they'll look at it and it may take up to 21 days. Red, it'll be looked at immediately. This was considered red and resulted in the inspectors going offshore to see the concern.
But do we know if it was discussed as a safety committee with the OIM? Do we know if that happened?
I don't know off my head, top of my head right at this moment, but it had been raised through the safety committee, and the continual answer he was getting was, we've risk assessed it. So there was a risk assessment in place, but he disagreed with the risk assessment.
So the rest of the safety reps then were comfortable to accept management, but I take it this guy was doing it on his own then, aye?
He was doing most of it on his own. He was getting support from the safety reps, but he was the one with his head above the parapet more than the others, if you like.
Any more questions, Emily?
We've got a few. Question coming, more of a statement. The blast overpressure and increased explosive energy due to scaffold congestion is also a major factor for consideration with fabric maintenance type activities. These hazards are often overlooked.
Yeah.
And that was his main concern.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about not about the scaffolding though?
The scaffold enclosure, the risk of explosion, because enclosure will magnify an explosion enormously.
Yeah.
So another question's come in. Why was the habitat allowed to be extended without changing the permit to work?
Yeah, really, really valid point actually. I mean that whole change management, dynamic risk assessment, call it whatever you want to do, it's about recognising that the scope of the job has grown and it's gone beyond the realms of potentially the first risk assessment.
And that's with his concerns were getting bigger and bigger along with the work scope.
A good question for you. As a 3-person panel, how do you feel individually that empowering the safety reps further would then give, for example, the 32% more confidence in raising concerns and stop management from fobbing off safety reps?
Well, as I said earlier, I think the safety reps have got those powers. I mean, that's why I was asking Bob about the rest of the safety reps on the committee. Just one other safety rep going along with that safety rep to the OIM and telling them that under their powers they were exercising their right to raise the matter and they wanted it registered with the Health and Safety Executive. That's a pretty powerful position to have. I mean, it's maybe it doesn't go as far as the powers I've got in Norway of physically stopping the job completely, telling the OIM to stop, but it nevertheless puts the onus straight onto management and says to management, if you want to carry on with this job, then you're going to have to register our concerns about it with the Health and Safety Executive. There's very few managers, I think, would be comfortable having to go and register what might be a failure on their part with the Health and Safety Executive. If the managers are dinosaurs, and there's a few of them out there, are dinosaurs, then every single worker on the installation's got the right to use the confidential line straight into HSE.
Yeah.
So that could be exercised as well.
I think what I was going to say, I mean, it goes back to Jake's point about are the managers dinosaurs or are they actually willing to listen? I mean, nobody's invincible. People don't always think about all the aspects of the task, and for me, that holding up the mirror to a manager and getting them to listen is a really powerful thing to do. And for me, that's what safety reps are absolutely there for. It's now and again to hold the mirror up to us and say, are we really accepting this? Are we really going to let this happen? I just think, good on the guy for continuing to do his research and get the facts, because facts go a lot further than perception or emotion. And for me, being able to disprove the risk assessment, I think is a really, really valid task. So.
And the regulation 17.4, if anybody wants to look it up in SI 971, but there's also for other regulation, regulatory ways through the Whistleblowers Act as well, which enables anybody in the workforce to do confidentially, but there's procedures of doing that also. To me, it shows the safety reps do have powers, and do they always use them? It's no very easy all the time being a safety rep, using your powers, but there should be that communication that with the management, because safety reps as part of their function is to challenge supervision and management as part of the function, and it should be welcomed. And the best managers and best supervisors will always welcome the challenge.
And I think, the other thing I was going to add was that everybody knows they can escalate to the HSE executive, and I think that's a really powerful thing, but do you not think it's such a shame that things can't just get dealt with? And I think in 2016, have we not learned enough as an industry that we can actually listen to people's concerns and act on them without it having to get to that level? Do you know what I mean? I just think it's quite strange.
And one of the good things as well in doing that would be, like you're saying, and agreeing with what you're saying, is bring in the safety committee, but get things when you're using the safety committee, get it noted, get it recorded, get things minuted, because when things are recorded and minuted, they're a lot more likely to be dealt with, and you may get a better two-way conversation when it's been minuted. And like anything, if you disagree with the answer, challenge.
Yeah. Emily, any more questions come in?
Yep, we've got a couple more. Was the job or project completion governed by a certain time frame or budget?
If it was subcontractors coming in to do a job that weren't part of the core crew of the workplace, so thus, yes, there will have been a set time on the job. But I don't think they were deliberately doing it to be unsafe. They were thinking they were safe, but they weren't thinking through all the possibilities, what could go wrong. And come on to, when the HSE inspectors went on board, there was then more.
Any more questions, Emily, before we move on?
Yep, there's a couple more. For such a large work scope, was this not risk assessed onshore in the first place?
So I think, yeah, I mean, we've talked through a number of times. I think the risk assessment that was done for this one was a onshore and offshore collective risk assessment. I think and we'll come on to it in the next slide, but I think what Bob has alluded to a couple of times is I think unfortunately the risk assessment was done, we weren't necessarily following what it actually said in the risk assessment, and that's because the job was allowed to grow beyond that kind of boundary.
There are a couple more questions, but I think it would probably make sense
Okay.
to follow on.
So we'll move on to the next slide. Oh, before we do that, just the last poll question actually. Is everybody aware of the confidential number that you can call the HSE executive on, and do you have it posted on your notice board at your place of work?
100%.
Okay. We are 50-50.
50-50. Wow.
That's a surprise. Well, there you go.
That's a requirement. That I would suggest everybody has a look, because the HSC notice should be on every workplace, not including just offshore, which it should have the number of the HSE on it as well. So it's worth having a look.
So good action for this afternoon. Okay, next slide please, Emily. Okay, so Bob, you probably know this one better than myself and Jake. Do you want to just give us a bit more background on the root causes and what the resolution was?
Yeah. So as we mentioned, the large sheeted area was installed around the slug catcher module. That changed the requirement to provide open ventilation for that area. The operational risk assessment was not in place with the risk that associated the natural ventilation being removed, and that's a preferred requirement. And that was because it was risk assessed onshore, but the risk assessment grew offshore. And as we'll come on, there was a bit of breakdown in the communication beyond and offshore. So there was a lack of understanding of the company's procedures when cleaning and ballasting on live hydrocarbon lines, and the company did not provide relevant information to the employees. So this was something that came out once the inspectors were there, that the employees that were working on the blasting of the live lines weren't provided with enough information on the risks, on the checks that had been done on the live lines, and weren't fully aware and involved in the risk assessment procedure of what happened there. Now, that in theory should not be happening, and when come on to the talk about onshore and offshore, the onshore were not aware of the extent this had got to. So yet again, an engagement, a communication, a change. So there was other aspects that came into the situation, thus creating bigger risks.
So that communication breakdown then, both between onshore and offshore, but also within the offshore community about the concern not being kind of addressed. Well, do we understand why that communication had broken down? Do we know what happened?
The feeling from the rep involved was because he kept raising the concern, they just got fed up hearing his concern. They'd risk assessed that, they were happy with the risk assessment, and that was the end of it.
So almost a little bit like crying wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any questions, Emily?
We've got a couple questions. There's some good discussion going on at the Shearwater about this, and one of the reps is asking, in the view of the panel, is there another route the rep could have taken? For example, maybe contact onshore management?
Well, that was probably the only thing that the rep didn't do. He followed every procedure in raising concerns. He even started off on a card and went through all the concerns offshore. Because eventually he felt he wasn't getting any place with the offshore management, he came to the HSE. But by all means, he could have contacted, or the person could have contacted onshore management. But then so could the onshore management have contacted the offshore management contacted the onshore management, saying, look, we've got an ongoing concern here, could you address this?
But they obviously didn't believe the concern, do you know what I mean? So this individual was obviously raising it, offshore were just, you know, the offshore management were maybe a bit like, I don't quite agree, and then it probably just never went any further. So yeah, I mean, I talking from a kind of operator myself, I don't think any company would at all be concerned if a rep picked up the phone to somebody onshore and said, look, I don't think we're following the risk assessment here. I mean, essentially that's what our technical authorities are for, you know, as well, to help us with concerns like that. So
when you get visited by usually the head organisations, when they go offshore, will have a meeting with safety reps, and the ones I've been at my time when there's a safety rep offshore would always say, any concerns, come directly at me. Maybe reps should start using that sometimes if they do, because I'm sure the head organisations would love it. They're I'm sure they would.
I don't know the OIMs would love it.
That's the issue. Yeah. You're going above something.
You're going across somebody, yeah.
But if you've used your channels, why not?
But, I mean, it's sad that you've got to get there. I remember when I exercised my right under a 971 and went with a safety rep to challenge OIM. His response was, have you gone through the line? And I remember saying to him, mind you, it was 10 o'clock at night, right enough, he was getting pretty hacked off. I remember saying to him, what's the point of going through the line? You're the guy that signed the permit. It's a hot work permit, your signature's on the bottom of it. So it's your decision. My line managers have got nothing to do with it. This is your responsibility, so you deal with it. And I felt I was giving him the opportunity, rather than getting other managers to go chase him and try to talk to him, communicate to him as a colleague, as a rep to the chair of the committee. And I'd like to think the OIMs could do that today. Yeah. And this was 1992.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I'm kind of thinking of a little bit, so when we kind of talked about the guy crying wolf a little bit, you know, as you know, thinking back to when I was in OIM, there is an element of that you get a mixture of stuff being raised in the safety committee, and it sometimes then takes away from the really important stuff. And you know, I'm not going to say it, but you know, Sky TVs or number of showers on board for welfare purposes, you know, whatever that might be, and I know that they're important, but sometimes that can dilute the really important conversations that you need to have around really valid concerns. So it's maybe just something about, you know, keeping that safety committee protected and keeping it really focused on what the kind of valid and genuine concerns are.
The quality of the argument.
Yes, the quality of the argument. Emily, any other questions?
Yep, we've got 3 more. How many times per year have safety reps had to escalate to the HSE inspectors across our industry?
Good question, do you know?
I could find out and try and feed back and post something on the website. I don't have the figures in front of me. The last figures I got for concerns coming into the HSE, on average it was about 69 per year. Now that was for offshore, but not specifically just from safety reps. I got the first quarter and it was looking like slightly more, but that could dip down. I could try and I could get the figures up to date to see if it's getting more or less, but I don't know.
Well, why don't we do that and put it on the Step Change website? Yeah. Okay, thanks for the question.
Got another one here. Ultimately, what was the result of the intervention? How was the job done differently, and did personnel on board agree that it was a safer way of working?
Question.
Yes. Ultimately, what happened was the inspectors went on board. As they do, they'll speak with reps. They'll know the safety case. They'll look at the safety case. They knew the concern. They agreed 100% with the safety rep that had raised the concerns. The job was stopped immediately. They went back to their original risk assessment that was a lot smaller. When they contacted the onshore management management did not know that the job had escalated. The rep in particular was thanked by the HSE but was also contacted by the head of the organisation and thanked directly from the head of the organisation, and they're using it as good practice. And the organisation does have to be complimented as well, because they're now looking at ways training their reps to do the same kind of work and raising concerns, not directly going to the HSE, but putting in procedures to raising the concerns within the company, and they've addressed the breakdown communication with the reps offshore and the offshore management team that were there. So it was dealt with very positively.
Good. One last question. Well, I had a suggestion first that the yearly figures would be a great fact for Taoiseach News. So that would be a good addition for Taoiseach News, so thanks for that. And we've got a question from a safety rep. Did the safety rep inform the OIM that he would take further action and inform the HSE?
I'm not 100% sure on that. I think it was all pretty clear that he was raising the concern. I could try and find that out again. I apologise for not knowing. I don't want to say definitely he did, because I'm not 100% sure on that. But it was pretty clear, because his tenacity of following every procedure where he was ending up.
Any more questions, Emily? No, so we'll move on to the last slide. So this is really just a debate around, so what were the 7 C's that were involved in the safety alert? So I think you've got options to put 5 of them on the poll, so list whatever ones you think are relevant, and then we'll share our thoughts at the end.
Are we picking 5 as well?
Yeah, well, we can pick 5, yeah.
Yeah.
So break the silence. Change management.
Yeah.
Communication.
Communication.
Yeah.
Definitely control of work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Culture.
Culture.
Yeah. I was debating competence, and it's probably more competence of allowing the job to go beyond the realms of risk assessment. I don't know if that's more a competence thing, or maybe it's even a complacency thing.
A complacency thing, yeah.
But like commitment.
Commitment as well. I mean,
Yeah.
commitment to management. Yeah. You could say the whole lot of them, could you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the poll say, Emily?
Well, 78% have voted so far, and in the lead at the moment is communication. Oh no, it's culture.
Oh.
Oh.
It just changed.
Culture and communication.
Culture and communication, 1 and 2 spots.
Which is probably right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Although change management is to be in there from a procedural
Yeah.
aspect.
Everything has an argument, doesn't it?
Yeah, true.
I mean,
But it definitely says a lot about the culture of the place.
Yeah.
When this kind of
They're
happened.
not prepared to listen to it, or
Yeah.
they get complacent over what they're hearing, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Final scores.
Right, that's 93% people have voted, and I'll share the results. 40% have said culture, followed by 36% communication, 12% control of work, 8% competence, and 4% change management.
Okay. Yeah.
Good choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll open it up for some final questions, and then we'll close. Emily, what were you going to say?
We have a couple questions in.
Okay.
First one, thank you for giving up your Sunday. You're welcome. For every positive intervention, how many go unreported due to the fear in the current climate? Can Step Change, HSE and the unions not address this?
How many go unreported? Well, that's the big question. How many do go unreported? That's an issue which is close to our thinking, because we believe it's probably more than anybody actually knows. Certainly, when you're dealing with these issues on a day-to-day basis, and you get the common expression, "What's the bloody point?" or "They don't listen to a word we say," or "We raised it but nothing's done about it." These are the type of things we get all the time, but it's all very anecdotal. We've got nothing to actually verify how little or how much underreporting or intervention there is.
And again, I don't have the stats, but I suppose the only thing I would say is that you don't have to put your name on anything. You know, you don't have to put your name on an intervention card. You don't have to put your name when you raise something through your own safety rep. You don't have to put your name if you email it to the HSE executive. You know, things can be done so anonymously these days that I would really urge anyone to back away from raising something in the current climate, because you can do it and you don't need to kind of declare where it's come from. So if you do think that that's happening in your place of work, please make sure that guys know they can do that completely anonymously, without, you know.
Or with the sport and the trade union, under the regulations, they're entitled to contact any third party, which includes the trade union as well. So phone's on the desk anytime. Yep.
And it's the benefit of your family, your workmates, the business you work in. You're not choosing to look the other way, you're playing your part. And that's what you have to do. That's the way you'll improve things. And that's what most people in this industry want to do. Everybody's want to improve the situation the industry's in. And having safety concerns does not improve things. Raising them will improve things. And like we've tried to discuss today, if you're not happy and you feel you're right, there's channels and ways of doing it and taking it further.
Yep. Any more questions, Emily?
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
Oh yes. There's been a couple of comments along the lines of we should all be thankful to have a job in this climate, and perhaps people are too afraid of the repercussions to bring anything up. Which is fair. The Gannett platform have asked, what was the culture like after this incident occurred?
I would say the culture improved because, like it says, the onshore management are now using the safety rep involved. I'm doing some work with the safety rep involved, putting in places better ways of communication and trying to deal with the breakdown that happened offshore, that a genuine concern had been raised and wasn't getting passed, it wasn't getting dealt with properly. It was going to the risk assessment and that was the be all and end all. And if you could risk assess quite a lot and get the answers you want quite a lot at the time, the question that should be in every risk assessment is having like the devil's advocate in the room, the person that's just there to directly challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So the company is certainly putting in ways to improve the culture.
Good. Probably a couple more questions, Emily. I think we're already over time, but
Okay, well, let's wrap this up. A couple of questions. Do you think common tools would help something like this?
Common tools. Well, I've got to say yeah, because I'm sitting on the simplification standardisation agenda of step change to try and bring about commonality, to bring about standardisation, because I think if there's guys, especially with workers moving around, if they've got different toolbox talks, different reporting systems, different golden rules, then it becomes just a blur. So I think standardisation and common approaches are critical to achieving a safer environment in the offshore sector.
And let's face it, safety case regulations and SI 971 are common tools.
Yeah.
Standardise the way that we are able to raise concerns, have a safety committee, allow them to express their powers. So yeah, absolutely, good question.
Mm-hmm.
Just two more questions. The first one is, was the safety rep in question happy with this outcome?
Well, yeah, but he was proved right in everything he done. So he was proved right in using the company procedures, and that's why the head of that oil company directly got in touch with him and thanked him. Now there was maybe some people who weren't happy with that, and the head of the oil company also got in touch with them, but it wasn't the safety rep.
Great. Bob, would you be able to inform whether the safety rep audit of the HSE is moving any closer to being arranged? Maybe it would be beneficial.
The safety rep audit, the inspection guide. If they mean the inspection guide, it's due out Q3. There's just some of the components in it are fine. It's just the way I've did the scoring thing that has to be HSE I
think there'd be safety reps panicking over the North Sea
Yeah.
right now.
It's
We get audited.
yeah, certainly no audit. It's making sure the legislation for safety reps and safety committees is treated exactly the same way as any other part of legislation. To me, it's one of the most preventive pieces of legislation out there, because it's involving the workforce, it's engaging the workforce, and it's all about prevention. It's not about inspecting after something's went wrong. It's inspecting the courses for prevention are there.
And it stops you getting your warrant card out.
Stops me getting my warrant card out.
It's your plastic card I want you to get out later on.
Okay, we'll probably close it there. Emily, sorry.
There's one last closing comment that perhaps, what do you think about having one of these webinars live on a platform next time?
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah, invite us out, get us a bed.
I don't know, I've got a Sunday afternoon off again, like.
I think it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that'd be great.
Good. Okay, thank you very much everyone for joining us this afternoon. Good luck with the rest of your safety meeting or safety committee meeting. Thank you very much. Cheers guys.
Right, thank
Good.
you.
Thanks.
Bye.